Let's talk about the Week 10 injuries we're tracking going into the weekend, because this is a pretty significant list. Baker Mayfield with the toe injury. He didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday. Things are looking much more positive as we sit here on a Friday. James Conner with the finger. Tony Pollard with a foot injury. Brian Robinson is dealing with a hamstring. Brian Robinson has kind of been dealing with something for a couple different weeks now and is Mr. Game Time decision. Amari Cooper with a wrist injury. CeeDee Lamb with a shoulder injury, although CeeDee Lamb seems like he's motivated to play through his injury. Michael Pittman's been playing through a back injury. Devontae Smith has a hamstring. Drake London, who left the game with the hip injury in the first half. Kyle Pitts has a hamstring injury. But maybe the biggest injury news is that Christian McCaffrey is expected to make his season debut on Sunday against the Bucs. We got to hear from Kyle Shanahan on CMC's status going into the weekend.
You know, as long as everything goes well, it has in the rehab. So just as long as he doesn't get sore and have setbacks each day with practice. Usually if you get that in practice, that means it's going to be worse in the game. So hopefully you can string together 3 days in a row and not have any of those.
If he does look like the Christian of old, does his workload become the workload of old, or is that something that you're going to be more cognizant of?
It definitely could, but it also definitely might not.
Very honest approach from Kyle Shanahan.
Very happy with himself after that.
Yeah, he loved that one. The smile and the head nod.
It wasn't a great gag.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me started. Kyle, I mean, like, he's been I'm going to choose my words carefully. It doesn't feel like the 49ers have been 100% forthcoming about Chris McCaffrey's injury status this entire season.
That's fair, but also it doesn't feel like they really know what is going on and that they're just kind of going to give it a go and see what happens.
Because the Achilles tendonitis,
which
is
it's an odd injury.
It is a very odd injury.
It's not like a broken hand.
He flew to Europe to have this looked at.
Which is not usually what happens.
No.
It's a weird thing, and you know what I've heard from people around the, you know, heard from sources, just
licensed physicians.
Yeah, from licensed physicians like Dr. Rogers over here. What I read on the internet from people that view this, you know, from whatever. Many miles away. No, in all seriousness, I think Chris McCaffrey has a lot of people around him, you know, and he's a lot of different voices and, trying to figure this out. And so it's a weird thing where one person told me it's almost like he's getting too much treatment on it as opposed to just letting it sit. Who knows? I have no idea if any of this is true. It's just obviously it's week 10 and we haven't seen him on an NFL field yet, but the hope is that he is going to play this week. I will tell you that in all the leagues I have, Chris McCaffrey, I'm starting him. Now I'm at running back 12 because does he get a full workload? Is there a chance that he gets out there and, you know, suddenly leaves the game because it's his first action? Do they get Jordan Mason more involved? We've seen some games where it's not full on, 25 touches for Chris McCaffrey. It's a decent matchup with the Buccaneers, who allow the second most receiving yards per game to opposing running backs. But Jake Croucher, I turn to you. Because the Grape Slappers have Jordan Mason and Christian McCaffrey on their team. What are you doing in the League of Assholes?
I'm starting Christian McCaffrey. They just have to start him. Yeah, he's the guy. And I think as well with McCaffrey.
Are you starting Mason as well? Are you hedging your bets?
No, I'm going to sit Mason. But my team's a juggernaut, so I have lots of options.
Yeah.
So I have the luxury of sitting Jordan Mason. No, I think the thing with McCaffrey is that he is now the most important player in fantasy for the rest of the season. And if you're in a position, I really think any position, I would be trying to trade for Christian McCaffrey just because of the upside. If you're in it to win your league, like there is a chance, everything is within the range of outcomes. He could be the best player in fantasy the rest of the way. This may be his only game that he plays this season. We just don't know.
Is someone trading him though? Somebody that's like drafted him number 1 overall or, top 3 overall and it's waited 10 weeks and finally gets him back and now I don't know. I just think that's going to be a tough putt. Like I think the time to trade for him would have been last week. I certainly admire taking the shot. If somebody's like, been holding on this whole way, and they've, they picked up Chase Brown or whatever. They've been piecing it together, and they've managed to get themselves to a good spot where they actually don't, quote, need Chris McCaffrey. Yeah. And like, hey, if somebody's willing to give me a perceived value of Chris McCaffrey, because there certainly is risk. If somebody's willing to give me a top 10 overall player for him, I certainly would consider that because there's risk with McCaffrey that isn't there with others.
Who would you rather have, Joe Mixon or Christian McCaffrey? So I'd rather have Christian McCaffrey.
I would rather have Chris McCaffrey it depends on my record.
Yeah.
Like if I'm the Grape Slappers, if I'm Stupid Dev and I'm like, I got a great team. I just need to make sure I maintain. Like, I think I'd rather have Joe Mixon.
Well, I've got both of them, hence my team.
So
being
there you go.
Jordan
Yeah,
Love.
exactly. But
I would rather. I just think that
I can't wait till you lose to Dev in the finals. By the way,
I think with fantasy, it's like you don't get a bump for like home field advantage in the
no,
playoffs.
right?
Right.
But my point is if you're sitting there and you're looking at your league, and you're in 5th and 4 teams make the playoffs, or you're 6th, right? And you're like, I need to make a run here. Then I would try to go for McCaffrey because again, the upside there is so massive, whereas Mixon is sort of more, just a high floor kind of guy.
Yep. I think I'd want McCaffrey over every running back in the league rest of the way except for Saquon Barkley. I'm just worried about Henry and game script, and like even the games like last night, like Henry, just the lack of receiving value and game script going against him can work against him in ways that I just think McCaffrey. There was reasons why he was the number 1 pick overall in fantasy, obviously.
A fully healthy Christian McCaffrey is unbelievable. The question is he fully healthy, and will he be able to stay fully healthy for the remaining, the remainder of the schedule? And you can't tell me there's no risk involved.
No, there's elevated risk.
Elevated risk. So I don't disagree with your take, other than the fact that just to understand that risk. And so my point is I would not want to blow up my team. Like if I'm feeling really good and I'm like, if the playoffs start today, I'm in, and I'm the 2nd seed or whatever, then like I wouldn't trade Joe Mixon for him. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't trade Derrick Henry for him. And if you're out there shopping for upside running backs and you can't afford Chris McCaffrey, try to make an offer on whoever has Isaiah Pacheco, because he's going to come home soon, and he doesn't have McCaffrey upside, but he has top 10 running back in fantasy upside when he comes back.
Yep.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest RotoWorld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.